Thank you, Mr. Chairman, very much. There is a Dickensian quality to drone technology. It is simultaneously the best of technologies. It can enable, it can ennoble, you can do wonderful things with it. But it can also degrade and debase, can compromise human beings as well. So, and the question is, what do you do about that bad side? Because everyone wants to talk about the good stuff, but there's bad stuff. And a lot of the bad stuff just goes to privacy. You know, what are the protections that are going to be put on the books to protect families from commercial interests or government interests to gather this information, not as a hobby, but as something else altogether. And, you know, what happens if there's, you know, drones that are gathering, you know, through facial recognition, kind of who is shopping on Main Street and selling that to advertisers? Are there any protections? What if some commercial entities are gathering information about kids playing in the backyard and then using it for nefarious purposes? Are there any protections against that? What if there's a drone that's just taking a picture of every license plate in at a health clinic and then selling that information to an insurance company, you know, because they know exactly the disease that is being treated at that clinic. It just specializes in it. That's incredibly sensitive information. So right now, there are no safeguards, Mr. Lawrence, that are in place in order to ensure that there's a baseline federal privacy protection about the collection, the retention, the sale of personal information. So are there right now any plans at the FAA to put any protections against the compromise of this private information under some kind of safeguards?
So, Senator, obviously, FAA's chief concern is always safety, and that's our main focus.
I know that, and again, I think we've heard from other panelists about how big that is, but just privacy now, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, and we understand those deep concerns, and that's one of the reasons why we're working so closely with our Drone Advisory Committee and having that committee and getting the stakeholder input, because obviously I don't want to see a drone looking in my window anymore.
Right, but there are no federal rules. So do you think that we should put federal rules on the books?
So I think
on collection, retention, sale of personal information by commercial or government drones.
So FAA's goal is to continue to work with both the stakeholders and our federal partners in supporting them as they evaluate what our needs are.
But a lot of people in the commercial sector don't want any rules. They don't want any rules. They never want rules. Okay? You know, just the way it is. Collect it, use it, just live with it. Get over it. There is no privacy in a modern world. Okay? Just get over it. So here are families who have been not letting the salesman into their living room for 100 years. All of a sudden, there's someone, photographing their kids or them walking down Main Street shopping, and there are no rules all of a sudden. So do you have a view on that, Mr. Lawrence?
So we've been working very closely with NTIA in the development of their best practices on privacy, and we're going to continue to do so. And we continue through our law enforcement liaisons in the regional level, work with local officials
I appreciate
who are
that,
taking.
but there are no national laws. Are there any rules on how long any of this sensitive information about families could be retained by these commercial interests or by the government as they're just floating over people's homes? Are there any rules on retention of that data?
There's no FAA regulations on that data. There are the NTIA best practices.
But no rules that guarantee that they can't do that. And how about on transparency? Does the FAA have an easily searchable website detailing when, where in the U.S. and for what purpose each commercial and government drone is operating, just so we know, is there any place where people can just go and just see which commercial drones are flying over your head, over your kid's head, over the shopping mall that you're going to?
Currently, we do not have a location where you can look up manned or unmanned operations, all operations, to look up whether, what they're doing and where they are.
Yeah, so from my perspective, that's a dangerous environment for our country. It's just going to get more and more dangerous because there's going to be really bad people who are going to take this information, compromise it, use it for purposes that they should not be allowed to use it. There should be an ability at least to know who's flying over your head, and they have to say, as a commercial entity, I was flying over these people's homes or over that shopping mall. How hard is that going to be for people? But they don't want to do that. And that's why today I reintroduced the Bicameral Drone Aircraft Privacy and Transparency Act with Congressman Peter Welch to ensure Americans' privacy is protected while commercial and government drones integrate into the national airspace. And as we're debating the FAA reauthorization bill, I'm going to work hard to make sure that privacy is protected. And before I end, Mr. Chairman, I just want to say that, you know, I heard the senator from Washington State, you know, talking about South Dakota and Gonzaga. And I just want to note for the record that the chairman of this committee was a college basketball player, a very good college basketball player from South Dakota. Well, you do not have to say a word, but a very, very good college basketball player. So I would say to the Zags, beware of South Dakota basketball players. Right? They should not be underestimated in this game. I have personal experience with an inability to stop any of the jump shots that the gentleman from South Dakota worked on. Yeah. So I'll yield back.
Thank you, Senator.